in community cablecasting production.
Welcome to At Ease with Cooking. I'm Bonnie Kerschke, your host, and today we're going to go out to the patio to do some barbecuing. In fact, we're going to grill an entire meal for you today, from appetizer to meat course to vegetables. And we have a special guest demonstrator with us today, and he's John King. Now, some of you may recognize John because he's been on our show several times before as our meat cutter, giving us all those wonderful meat cutting tips. But today, what he's going to do is he's going to barbecue chicken and ribs for us the way his family likes them. Hiya, John.
Hi, nice to be back in a different capacity this time.
Yes, and I'm very anxious to see how you're going to do these ribs and chicken for us.
Well, we've done a little meat cutting with these in the past, so this is a little bit different. We're going to go one step further now. We're going to show a little bit on cooking. And we have the standard cuts here, spare ribs, barbecue. People just love that, and ribs on the grill, and chicken. And that's what we're going to work on. And I'm going to, for the first time, tell somebody else my secret recipe. But we'll find out there. It's only because you're my sister-in-law, okay?
I didn't know if you were going to be willing to do that or not, but
No.
I'm so happy you are because I know they are delicious.
That's only because you're a good sister-in-law.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
So what we're going to do here is start with the ribs first. And I have certain spices here, which you're familiar with. Every home just about has them. And you're going to really see how simple this recipe is. I don't get too involved, but they seem to come out good. People seem to like them. But one secret I have on ribs, I've done it already to the other three, is on the back part of a back rib or a spare rib. These are spare ribs, by the way. There's that little skin, that little membrane there. And what you want to do is try to get your fingernail under there and take that off. This helps for a couple reasons. Number one, it makes the meat a little bit more tender. And then if you notice, this is a kind of a membrane here. This way the juices can get down right into the solid in the meat, while they would kind of protect it otherwise, keep the juices out. So this is what I've done to all these already. So from that point on, we'll start seeing that I want to use one different ingredient on the rib and on the chicken. And by the way, if you notice, I cut my ribs already into individual portions. I find it easier to do it before I cook than after. It's not handling that hot stuff then. So what we got here is, for the ribs, I like a lemon juice. You can use real lemon, actual real lemon, or the brand real lemon juice, either one you want. So what I do is just baste the one side with the lemon juice. And this is the one thing I use different with the chicken, is I take olive oil now, or cooking oil, I should say, regular cooking oil, vegetable oil you can use, and I put that on the chicken. From this point on, everything's going to be pretty much the same. So if you want to just write down what I'm using, it says I brought out just basic spices that every household seems to have.
We'll have an address for the people that would like the recipes they can send to later in the show, too.
Common salt, put that on the one side. Again, I think if pepper, regular pepper, this is going to be ground pepper here, always a little bit fresher, isn't it? One thing I like to find out as a host in barbecuing is who's coming over to the house. Maybe some cannot have these spices. So then that way, instead of them not even be able to eat anything, this time I have onion salt now I'm using. You can use onion salt or you can use minced onions for this, either way. And then I have garlic salt. Again, as I was saying, if somebody can't have these spices, all you have to do is just take and wrap a piece of Reynolds wrap separate out, putting the spices on for them, then everybody can enjoy. And last but not least, paprika, and of course that's just there to give that nice brown look on the grill to it. You notice I'm doing these in little Reynolds wrap pans, and usually it just works ideal when you're doing for a large amount of people. I usually have enough just to level off each pan.
So you can't stack on top of...
Right, but no problem at all. In fact, what we're going to do right now is we're going to reverse these, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And if you remember again, the real lemon went on the spare ribs. And the secret to barbecuing, ribs, I've listened to some champion rib cookers, especially in a contest they had back away in town. And the one secret was to try to cook as long as possible. Real slow cooking. They'll leave it on all day. Other people take and they parboil their ribs ahead of time and put them on. What we're actually going to be doing here is eliminating that long waiting time and eliminating taking the juices out by putting them in water and boiling them, because we're going to steam them, and what's going to take place, and it's going to accomplish the same purpose in less time. And one more time as I'm going through, I have the salt. Notice the same thing for the chicken. Ground pepper. And then this time I changed it. I put the garlic salt on first. Doesn't make no difference, believe me. And then the onion salt. This should take approximately, and again, don't ask me how long it takes. It depends so much on your grill. But let's just say you have a normal hot fire on a grill, which should, in 1 hour, you should be able to uncover the Reynolds wrap that I'm going to put across the top of these, and your chicken and your ribs should be done. From that point on, you're going to see what we do later to it when it's out in the grill. It's going to come out of the pan, and we're going to process it from there. Here, this is where you can see where this will serve as a steaming, just like a little steaming oven. And I'm going to put this right on the grill. It's not going to lose its charcoal flavor, because as we brought out, once they've been cooked, we're going to turn around and we're going to put it right on the grill, and we're going to put some sauce on it, and you're going to have ideal charcoal flavor to it. But one thing you're going to be sure about, you're not going to serve your company an uncooked rib or chicken, which has been embarrassing, I know, to many of us in the past, until we really learned the secret to cooking. Now, it'd be really surprising to have a barbecue without corn. What I do with my corn is I like to cook it right in the husk. But what you do is buy it like that, and then take out the silk, strip it back a little bit. Just pull out as much of the silk as you can. Maybe break off a piece like that. And then what I do then, but I've done this here about an hour ago, because I take it after this and I put it in a bucket of water, say a half a dozen ears of corn, bucket of water, just leave it sit like that. And just before cooking, take them, shake them out, and then lay them on the grill. Sometimes right on top of the grill like this here, I'll lay 6 corn right across the top, and that steam heat.
Across. You don't put them right on the coals.
No, this way here, because they'd get done too soon. At the end, if they're not done, I can feel by just sticking a little fork in there and see if it's piercing the corn all right. Then I'll take it if it has to be done more. But this way it usually gets done, just laying on top like this, and put your cover down, and it gets steamed real nice. Again, with that water, some people have put some salt in the water too. They prefer that. So that's kind of takes care of the main course here, but I hear there's going to be something that's going to be appetizing to it. But, you know, I was looking outside, and my neighbor's right. Every time I go to cook, she says she can tell the weather. It's going to rain. I'm going to go out and check our grill and that now.
Okay, great.
And then I'll leave you to meet you out there later, okay?
Okay, thanks, John. And what I'm going to be preparing now is an appetizer shrimp kebab that's served with a chili sauce dipping sauce. It's always nice to serve your guests an appetizer when they come with some sort of a beverage. And this one is really great because you can take advantage of that grill that you've got going out there with your chicken and ribs. This is a shrimp kebab, and what I'm using are these 6-inch bamboo skewers. And what you want to do with these is, for about a half an hour before you're going to thread your shrimp on them, you want to soak them in some water. That's going to keep them from getting burned while they're on the grill. Now the shrimp recipe that I'm going to talk about, I've only made a portion of it here today, but the actual ingredients would be 1 pound of raw shrimp. And what you would do with that raw shrimp is that you would remove the shell and the little tails and that sand vein, but you will leave the shrimp tail on, and here you can see the shrimp tail has been left on. And then what we do is we marinate that in a half a cup of olive oil, and a half a cup of fresh lemon juice, and to that we add a tablespoon of fresh minced parsley. Now that we want to be sure we keep in the refrigerator, and turn them as they're marinating, and we want to marinate them about 2 hours. Then when we've finished that, we're going to take the skewers out of our water, and we're just going to thread a couple of them on from right behind the tail, right through the front part of the shrimp, just like that. And we're only going to put 2 per skewer on here, and we'll let them have another skewer if they like, but this way you have plenty of room to be able to turn the shrimp over as they're grilling. And that's something you want to be sure you do, is while you're grilling these, turn them over frequently and baste them with this marinade that we're going to save. I'll just skewer one more here. Then I'll talk about the dipping sauce that we're going to have to dip that in after it's been grilled. Now while you're grilling them, it really isn't going to take very long for these to grill, because shrimp do cook quickly, and you want to be sure that you don't overcook them. I would say, probably maybe 4 to 6 minutes at the most, and be sure to baste them with that marinade. When they're finished, they're going to turn a nice pink and they're going to be opaque. And you'd probably want to serve maybe 2 skewers or 3 for each guest, and that would be a way of figuring out how many that you should purchase. Now for the dipping sauce, we've just taken 1 cup of chili sauce, and we have a half a teaspoon of horseradish. Now here, if you don't like the horseradish, leave it out. If you like it with a little bit more zip, put a little bit more in. And then we also have 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And that's all there is to it. And the shrimp are excellent just by themselves, or they're great with this dipping sauce. Next item I'm going to prepare for you is one called Confetti Potatoes. Many people like to serve baked potatoes with their barbecuing, and that's just great. But this potato dish is a little bit different, and it's the kind that can be put in an aluminum foil pan, and it can be placed right on the grill, right alongside with your chicken and ribs, and it can cook right along with them. Now what this requires is 1 1/4 pounds of potatoes. And I've used red potatoes, but it really doesn't matter what you use. And I put them in this disposable aluminum foil pan, but I like to usually clean them out and reuse them. But what I've done first is I've taken one of those non-stick vegetable sprays and sprayed the inside of the pan so that the potatoes don't stick to the bottom. Now I've placed them in, and this is the 9-inch square cake pan size. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle that with some onion salt. These potatoes are really very easy to prepare. And some freshly ground pepper. Now if you happen to like your onions, your red pepper, and your green pepper nice and soft, you would add it at this particular time. I happen to like mine a little bit more crunchy, so I'm going to cook these potatoes for a while first before I add those. Then they're going to stay a little bit more crisp, and they're going to keep their nice bright color. So at this point then, if you wanted to add those, you'd add them and mix them in, and then you just dot with 2 tablespoons of butter. And by the way, with the onions and the green pepper and the red pepper, I've just used a half a cup of each. Now if you would prefer, you like a little bit more, add a little bit more. If you like a little bit less, add less. If you don't like green peppers, you can leave them out altogether. I would suggest if you leave them out altogether, then put something like green scallions, or put a little bit of parsley in. There really isn't very much to do, and I'll talk a little bit more about how long these are cooked and an alternate way of doing these when I get out at the grill with John. Now here again, what we're going to do is take some aluminum foil and just put this nice and tight along around the sides, and then we're going to put that on the grill too. Next and final, I'm going to prepare a vegetable kebab. Now for those of you who are not going to have corn with your meal, we've got this wonderful kebab recipe of vegetables for you. And there you put them right on the grill in these, on these bamboo skewers again. And these are the 9-inch ones. And here again, I've soaked those for half an hour. And very simple vegetables. If these vegetables are not to your liking, you can add whatever kind you like. If you were going to use carrots or something like that, I would suggest that you parboil it for a little while because there would be no way they'd become cooked on the grill. But I'm using zucchini squash, sweet red pepper, and I'm using yellow squash, and then just the green scallion or green onion as they're more commonly known. And what you want to do is you want to cut these squash in about a 3/4 inch width. That way they're not going to take too long to cook. And you want to be sure that your diameter is probably not any more than about 1.5 inches in diameter, because otherwise it's not going to cook all the way through either. If you can't find any squash that are this small, then I'd suggest cut them in quarters if they're quite large, or parboil them just for a minute or two, and then you won't have to worry about them being fully cooked. Now the green pepper I've cut into about 1.5 inch square, and the green onion is about 1.5 inches long. And it's really, really very easy. All you do is take one, and you can put this on in any order you like. I'm just going to put the zucchini squash on, red pepper, yellow squash, one of the little onion sections, and then I'm going to repeat with zucchini, red pepper, yellow squash, and the onion. And one more combination of those vegetables. Usually about 3 is going to work well on this size skewer. Then we're going to take those out to the barbecue, and we're going to put those on, and we're going to cook them, turning, maybe around 15 minutes, and constantly turning them and brushing them with some melted butter. When they're finished, I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of seasoned salt. And I'm going to go out and join John at the barbecue now, but before I do, I would like to mention to you that we really would like to hear your comments about the show, what you think of it, if there's any suggestions you have for topics that we might include in another show, or maybe you would like to come on At Ease with Cooking and prepare your favorite recipe. Well, if you would, we'd like you to call the following number. And if the number is busy, we would like you to call up again, because we really would appreciate your input. I'll see you out at the grill in just a minute.
Do you have your passport?
For the 3rd time, yes.
Do you have everything?
Kids, relax. If we weren't grown-ups, they wouldn't have let us join the Peace Corps.
Peace Corps. It's creating food systems in Africa, building homes in Costa Rica, and fighting malaria in Asia. It's teaching math and learning French. It's working side by side. It's been tough, but for 25 years, the Peace Corps has been making a difference in the world.
Mom, Dad, I'm so proud of you.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Well, John, here I am. How are we doing?
Let's check it, Bonnie. Let's see. I think, look at that.
Oh, great.
Ooh, that was a good fire, too. That worked out pretty good.
Good. Now I'm going to add those the red peppers, green peppers, the onions, and now you're going to see why I like to call them confetti potatoes.
You can see it already.
Yes, and
Look
then
at
just
that.
kind
Isn't
of
that beautiful?
mix them up there. And as I mentioned, if you like your peppers a little bit softer, you could put them in a little bit earlier. I'm going to cover those up again, and I think what we'll do is we'll put those up on the rack as you're
here,
taking
let me get it with the gloves here.
Here, it isn't too bad. But I'll let you pick it up there and put it for me.
Okay.
Ooh, and your chicken and ribs have smelled wonderful.
Yeah, look at that.
You know, we don't really have the best of day here today. And I mentioned I was going to give you an alternate method of cooking those potatoes. You can cook those in the oven if you should happen to get some rain sprinkles while you're barbecuing. And then you'd cook those maybe 30 to 40 minutes at about 425 degrees. And John gets his. Great.
Okay. Let's give you a little room for that shrimp. I don't want to wait too long on that. That looks like it's going to be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some of these kebabs on too. And I'm going to just use plain butter or margarine to baste those. And as you can see, we can just really cook the entire meal out here right at the grill.
Boy, those look good enough to eat. I hope so pretty soon. While you're doing that, I think I'll start getting the sauce on there. We should come just about finish at the same time, I think.
Great. Now I'm going to put a few of these shrimp out. I also have a small table-side hibachi over there that if your grill were too full with other things, you could grill them on the hibachi as your friends come, and they can watch them themselves, and that way they can do a little of the cooking too.
Now, how long do those take about, what you're cooking there with the shrimp?
With the shrimp, they're only going to take a very short time, and you're going to have to watch them maybe 4 to 6 minutes at the most.
Uh-huh.
As I mentioned, they will turn a nice pink, and they will become opaque.
I don't know if you notice here now on the ribs, this is the way I like to be sure that they're done. And if you take a look at them, they're just pulling away from the bone.
Oh,
and that's
yes.
usually a pretty good sign. And it's the same with the chicken, too.
Got to be sure I get the right brushings on my kebabs here.
Am I giving you enough room
This
there?
is just, yes, fine. This is a handy little rack here,
I
too.
sure do like it, yeah. Gives you an extra step, really.
Right, and anything that's finished cooking and you don't want to keep cooking any longer, but you want to keep warm, you can just put that right up there. I'm going to baste my shrimp again.
See how pulling that membrane off the back of the spare rib, too, how it just allowed everything to cook so thoroughly.